Well, here we are again, doing exactly what we did yesterday in terms of ADA. It's not really surprising. We are starting off with some red, some profit taking, some liquidations. And right now it seems like overseas money and US money just can't really get on the same page once again. That being said, there are actually some really good things taking place in the charts that I want to talk to you guys about. Do also want to discuss this big day that took place yesterday, and we need to discuss this now second approval for ADA, or including ADA. And there's a little bit of a catch to that. So if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button. That bell is free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So I do have to say, I don't like waking up to red. I don't like waking up to a candle that's down 4.5%, but understand that we're just doing exactly what we did yesterday. It's like I've talked about many times. ADA does not like to live in these ranges. When we get into these, we tend to test the top of it, test the bottom of it. We're walking the ranges, right? And that's exactly what we've done today. We got some overnight selling. We got some liquidations that took place that pushed ADA price down. You guys can see that here. Basically liquidated a bunch of these longs that filled in behind here. Look what's filling in above here is a bunch of shorts, just as we saw yesterday. It's not really surprising. So we're just kind of chopping around, and guys, understand that that is okay. Not every single day needs to be green. Not every single day needs to see, a 10% extension or anything like that. Now, that being said, let's talk about some good things here, because there are some good things happening in the charts. First of all, yesterday's close was a bullish close. We were down, floating around the same ranges here to start yesterday, and we finished with a hammer candle. That's bullish. That's a very exciting sign to see us get enough momentum over the course of the day, enough buying to actually have us close green. Once again, creating very few red candles on this this rally for ADA. We also got the first step in our mega cross. Our golden cross took place. We got our 50-day moving average crossing our 200-day moving average. That is a great sign. And you guys can see this 100-day is coming up right behind here. So again, like we talked about, maybe within the next 24 hours here where we do get this cross taking place, it might be out to Friday, depending on what we do on today's daily candle and tomorrow's daily candle. But that's the trajectory that we're on right now. It would have to get pretty bearish for us to invalidate that, but this is a great sign to see here. Something else I wanted to talk about in terms of ADA, and guys, this would be the healthiest thing we could do in terms of the charts, is actually chop around here for like 5 or 6 days or so, because what we're seeing right now is we did get that bearish flip on the daily stochastic RSI. It's actually testing the top of our overbought range. And we'll see if we can dip down just a little bit here, kind of get essentially a reset in terms of ADA. That would be a great spot to be, because it provides a little more room for us to extend out of here. Hopefully that makes sense. Frankly, if we chop around in these ranges for several days, you could see a complete reset take place. Just take a look back here, right? We actually ran all the way down to 78 cents from, what was that, about 85 cents back on May 10th through the 15th. You guys can see that we got almost a 50% reset on that. So that was a pretty big deal there. Just something to pay attention to and maybe consider moving forward. Of course, BTC's red candle today kind of sparked this red and selling that we're seeing in the crypto market. That being said, I do have to say that, we had another little tiny baby institutional unload day. One of these days, they're going to flip green again, and we're going to start seeing those big institutional accumulation big institutional accumulation days on the BTC side. Ethereum, just massive day again. So pretty interesting dynamic shift on the institutional side. I think that's now 3 or 4 straight days where Ethereum has actually outpaced BTC on the institutional side. BlackRock just buying heavily right now. So again, this is kind of contributing to this chart right here, our ETHBTC chart that we've talked about many times before, that you guys can see is just making this massive extension. And guys, this is exactly what we did last market cycle, right as we had bottomed and started to extend. We might be right here, we might be right here, but you guys can see the trajectory that this wants to run very heavily versus BTC. And this is where we start to see, again, a lot of that capital start to roll downhill to other assets. That's a really big deal. Now, the big news from yesterday, we did in fact get an SEC approval of the conversion of the Bitwise 10 crypto index into a spot ETF, but we did get the instant pause on this as well. So similar to what we saw in terms of the Grayscale spot, digital large cap fund conversion to a spot ETF, it remains in stayed status, right? So right away, this got an approval. It re-entered stayed status. Now, again, why this is such a big deal is this actually marks the second spot ETF that includes ADA as an asset. ADA only makes up about 1% of this. So yes, this is very heavily weighted to obviously the BTC and Ethereum side. But again, the more approvals that we see, actually including ADA, the easier it is to actually greenlight an ADA spot ETF approval by itself. Hopefully that makes sense for people. So that I thought was really interesting. In fact, there are some people that are commenting saying that there's some funny business going on. This is what an exec said here. So this is Scott Johnson. So yeah, would love to see these things just get approved and greenlit, and I'm not sure why they're dragging their feet. They say Atkins has to get in gear and get this done, and yeah, I agree. But right now we're in a good spot in the market. You guys can see Fear Greed Index still sitting around a 70 or so. Alt Season Index still at about a 52, not making much ground up there. $188 billion in daily trading volume over the last 24 hours, a little bit quieter of a day. So we'll see if we can get the ship righted today. Start to see more green once again, but that's what we got. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below, but have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.